I'm Coleman Young. On behalf of the city of Detroit, I'd like to welcome you to the world's largest sporting event.
This is the Detroit River, a lifeline for the Motor City. The Detroit River, one of the world's busiest recreational waterways, and it was here that unlimited racing became a major league sport. Detroit's love affair with speed on the water started in 1916 with this man, Garfield Wood. For 17 years, Gar Wood ruled the waves. He took on the best from North America and Europe, always finding a way to win. He was an inventor, known as the father of the Navy PT boat. And while the rest of the world was falling in love with the cars built in Detroit, Detroiters were falling in love with the boats that raced on its water. In 1956, a new legend was born on the Detroit River. Bill Munsey rewrote the record book with 62 wins before his death in '81. But the toughest course in unlimited racing continues to spawn heroes. Chip Hanauer replaced Munsey in the blue and white Blue Blaster and won the first of 3 straight Gold Cups here in '82. He tamed the treacherous currents again, taking the checkered in '83. Last year, Jim KROPFELD used a win in Detroit as a springboard to his first national championship, the 7th for the Bernie Little Budweiser team. And once again, it's time for the 69th running of the world's largest outdoor sporting event. From Bill Munsey Park in the shadows of downtown Detroit, hello everyone. We're getting set to bring you the 69th running of the world's largest outdoor sporting event. I'm Ed Dubrow, and with me today is a man who knows Detroit well, and they know him. He's Lee Shaneth, a 3-time national champion in this sport and a former commissioner. Lee, what about the Detroit River conditions today?
I think the conditions today are almost excellent. We have a breeze going downstream, which does not give you rough water. We should have some great racing today.
Now, last year they changed this to a 2.5-mile course after it being a 3-mile course all these years. Has it affected the racing from what you've seen?
No, we moved the course down from the Belial Bridge to get out of some of the rough water by the turn down there. The course is 2.5 miles instead of 3, but look at the qualifying speeds. They're going just as fast as they ever did.
Just under 140 miles an hour, and we'll show you that in just a moment. Also with us today is a man who also knows this river. He won the Gold Cup here in 1976 in a boat he built himself, and that's Tom Deeth. Well, Tom, you have driven both the reciprocal engines and also the turbines. Is there really that much difference?
Oh, there definitely is. The turbine engine doesn't respond as well as the reciprocating type of motor, such as the Rolls Merlin or the Turbo Allison. When you get on the gas with the recip motor, it hits you right in the back and it takes off, where the turbine just kind of spools up and builds up, and you have to keep it really cranked up to keep it going. If the boat were to get a little light when you're driving the turbine and you decelerate the turbine engine, it doesn't react as fast as the recip motor either, and it doesn't settle down as fast. So you can get in trouble if you don't drive the turbine way in advance.
I must wonder about this. The Detroit River has not been kind to turbines in the past. What about today?
Well, we'll find out at the end of the day, but the rough water that the Detroit River always has had because of the ground swells, the vibration and the punishing that the boats take has been real hard on the fragile turbine engines. But we'll find out by the end of the day. Their top qualifiers, 1 and 2. Maybe by the end of the day they'll be 1 and 2.
Well, I know you, still being a driver, are anxious to be on that water. We thank you for being with us today. We'll show you all those qualifying runs. We'll also give you a chance to meet the drivers, take a closer look at the boats as we get set for our coverage of the 69th running of the Spirit of Detroit Regatta. The Spirit of Detroit Regatta is brought to you by Buick and your Buick dealers. For comfort, innovation, and a real commitment to quality, wouldn't you really rather have a Buick? And by Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. And by the new Walker Advantage muffler, it puts rust at a disadvantage. Hello again, everyone. Ed Dubrow along with Lee Shaneth and Tom Deeth, standing by to bring you the Indy 500 of water racing, the Spirit of Detroit Regatta. Only 8 boats showed for qualifying because it's been a rough year thus far on the Unlimiteds. Engine problems and accidents like this one at Leif Borgensen in Syracuse have taken their toll on the world's fastest racing fleet. The boat sank, but glad to report that Borgensen, who you'll see popping up out of the water, suffered only a dislocated hip and other minor injuries and is well on his way to recovery. For a boat to qualify here, the driver must average at least 105 miles an hour around the 2.5-mile course. That's easier said than done. Then to get into the championship race, he must accumulate enough points in qualifying heats. The boats must pass a rigid inspection, and the driver must pass a physical on race day. To compete on the unlimited circuit as a driver, besides being slightly crazy, you have to prove that you can handle those 4,000 horses and speeds up to 200 miles an hour. A candidate must prove himself in the smaller racing boats by winning or taking second or third in 50% of the heats. An FAA physical must be passed. The candidates must know the rules and prove it, and have at least 1 hour of unlimited hydroplane practice. They've got to do that in front of a qualifying committee made up of veterans such as my colleagues today, Tom Deeth and Lee Shaneth. 7 of the 8 hydros qualified. Will Muncie, who besides being an unlimited driver, is the publisher of Boat Racing magazine, had engine problems and failed to make the field. He's the son of the great Bill Muncie, a fierce competitor like his father, but will spend this weekend as a disappointed spectator. In earlier racing, 5 drivers have earned their way into the final winner-take-all championship race. 2 have turbines, 3 have piston-driven power plants. Steve Reynolds in a turbine that he qualified at just under 138 miles an hour. Scott Pierce, who had his first unlimited win at Miami this year. Defending race champion Jim KROPFELD, now he's driving the hull he raced last year, even though he has a new one, and we'll tell you more about that later. Also in a piston-driven unlimited, Jerry Hopp. Hopp drove as an independent last year when he finished every race he started. And Chip Hanauer, who set a qualifying record of just under 140 miles an hour. Therein lies most of the drama of the day as we count down to the final trophy race. That's the lineup for the big race. Now let's show you how they got there. 3 boats hooked up in this qualifying heat. Hanauer, Scott Pierce, and rookie Andy Coker on the Detroit River for the first time. A busted oil line in Hanauer's Jim Lucero designed turbine started an electrical fire. Hanauer pulled the hydro up in the rooster tail turn, stayed with it, and turned on the onboard fire extinguishing system. His crew would have to repair the damage within an hour, then Hanauer would have to win the next heat just to qualify for the final. At that point, Chip must have been thinking back to last year. He had the fastest hull then, but he didn't make the final. They did it, and we'll have more on that as we continue to bring you up to date. Meanwhile, on the course, Andy Coker, driving the only conventional hull here today, he calls it the Dinosaur, was no match for the 2-year-old Rolls-Royce powered hull that was also built and designed by Jim Lucero. Lucero is part owner of the Hanauer team and also built the Unlimited driven by Steve Reynolds. Scott Pierce drove a steady race, assuring himself a berth in the final. You've seen Chip Hanauer burning on the course. Now let's ride with him as he burns up the 2.5-mile course during that record-setting run of 139 miles an hour, which also eclipsed the 3-mile qualifying record.
We hit the start line at right around 175, 180, which is the top speed for our boat. We progress down the straightaway and begin to set it gently into the first corner. This is probably the most difficult part of the race course because it's how you enter, transition from straightaway to corner that'll get you through that corner smoothly and quickly. You hit the apex buoy, let the boat slide out a little bit, come across what we call the exit pin or the last turn buoy, and again accelerate back up to that top speed. Now we came out of that corner at about 135 miles an hour, and it'll take us about 5 seconds to accelerate back up to 180. We'll maintain that 180 probably for maybe 8 to 9 seconds, and then it's going to be time to turn to the rooster tail corner. This is the smallest, most treacherous corner on the unlimited circuit, where most corners are about 1,200 feet in diameter. This turn is only about 600 feet. You literally slow the boat almost to a stop, pitch it sideways, hang on, hit the throttle, and back to the start-finish line.
Thanks, Chip. Now let's join my colleague Lee Shaneth in the pits.
For those of you unfamiliar with an unlimited hydroplane, let me give you a quick tour. These boats are approximately 30 feet long, 14 feet wide, and weigh around 7,000 pounds. The rule book says you must be 28 feet long, you must have a propeller and a submerged rudder. From there on, you're on your own. I'm sitting here by the cockpit, where the driver has many, many instruments to watch and a stopwatch to make sure he makes a good start. Going forward, we have the sponsons. That's what the boat really rides on, a bubble of air under the boat with the sponsons touching the water periodically about 12 square inches at a time. Further on back, we have a huge skid fin. This is what keeps the boat going straight and makes it go through the turn so fast and so beautifully. Further on back, we have the submerged rudder. These rudders are offset, they're not in the middle of the boat. That makes for better handling and better turning. Then the amazing thing which many people look at and wonder, how does a boat go so fast with a little propeller? These propellers are only about 14 inches in diameter, but you must remember they turn 12,000 RPM. Then we also have this huge tail section which keeps the boat steady. The crew can adjust this tail section to make the boat a little more lively if the water's too choppy. It's a very new technique and very helpful in the running of these boats.
Thanks, Lee. In the pits, a flurry of last-minute adjustments as we continue to count down to the 69th running of the Spirit of Detroit Regatta. Hello again, everyone. Ed Dubrow, along with Tom Deeth and Lee Shaneth. We're getting set to bring you a history-making event on this beautiful day in Detroit. The 5 hydros you see here are in the finals, including 2 turbines that qualified at almost 140 miles an hour. We'll continue to whet your appetite for the upcoming final with highlights from qualifying heats run earlier today. In this heat, Steve Reynolds, who won the World Championship last year, and Jerry Hopp, a Vietnam veteran, along with the defending champion Jim KROPFELD and Todd Yarling, who was voted the most improved driver in '84. Steve Reynolds showed the strength of the turbine that he qualified at just under 138 miles an hour, and while you watch him fly to a comfortable win, I'll tell you about Jim KROPFELD. That's KROPFELD, and as I told you earlier, that's the hull that took him to the '84 championship. They have a new Miss Budweiser with an enclosed capsule, but it suffered damage winning at Syracuse. Jim's lucky to be here. Watch what happened when he tested the new one, and he tells us his thoughts at the time.
It was a little eerie feeling getting into the enclosed cockpit for the first time. Right away I said to myself, gosh, the decks blew off, and the thing that really bothered me, I think, was that we never did any testing on trying to get out of this cockpit under emergency conditions. I was about ready to go back with my helmet and get some water and throw on it. It wasn't a very big fire, but everybody was screaming and hollering, so I thought maybe they could see something I didn't see. And so I jumped in the water, and that was about the end of that.
The action continued in this heat. Chip Hanauer, Todd Yarling, Jim KROPFELD, and Scott Pierce, the current point leader for the World Championship. Remember, at the top of the show, Hanauer had a fire and didn't finish that heat. That made this one of the most important of his career. He had to win it to be in the final 5. Second wouldn't make it. At the start, it looked like the classic confrontation between Hanauer on the outside and KROPFELD on the inside. These two have built up a rivalry unequaled in the sport over the last 3 years. Chip turned up the boost. The power and design of the turbine proved to be too much for the grand old lady that had been competing since 1980 and had been brought out of retirement for this race. Hanauer took a big lead, turning lap 1 at 129 miles an hour. Didn't back off. Lap 2 was timed at an incredible record-breaking 131 miles an hour. Chip was literally flying by everyone. This is what has made him one of the new heroes of the waves. He had it in his pocket but never backed off, keeping it on the edge for the full 12.5 miles, and the crowd loved it. One old-timer summed up the performance this way: "I haven't seen them that excited since they jumped in the water to yell encouragement to Bill Muncy." The more than 500,000 spectators had barely caught their breath when Steve Reynolds and Jerry Hopp hooked up in a 2-boat match race. Reynolds, trying to conserve the turbine for the upcoming final, underestimated Hopp's ability to stay with the 711 turbine when the boost was not turned to full throttle. Hopp had already earned a spot in the final 2, but he sensed an opportunity to score an upset against the turbine and would not back off. Ironically, both drivers are Vietnam vets. Hopp campaigned last year as an independent. This year he has the Oh Boy Oberto sponsorship and wanted to give them a win, but Reynolds, nearest the screen, beat him to the line by the tip of a sponsor. That brings us up to date, and we're moments away from the start of the granddaddy of them all, the Spirit of Detroit Regatta. Over 500,000 people are on their feet. We've shown you how these 5 have earned their way into the final, and we are moments away from the start of the 69th Spirit of Detroit Regatta. Talk to a driver, they'll tell you this is the one they want to win. Hello again, I'm Ed Dubrow along with Lee Shaneth and Tom Deeth. Now let's take another look at the final 5. Steve Reynolds, driving a turbine, qualified at 138 miles an hour. He won the World Championship last year. He's from Kirkland, Washington. Steve won 2 heats today. He was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. Another Vietnam veteran, Jerry Hopp from Snohomish, Washington. Jerry and Bill McFadden are co-owners. Hopp's 17-year-old son, Greg, works on the crew and is a 2.5-liter champ. This is Jerry's second trip to Detroit. Defending race champion, the '84 national champion Jim KROPFELD. Jim has rewritten the record book, winning 11 out of his first 23 races. He's won so many you think he's been around forever, but this is just his 4th year in the Unlimiteds. The owner is Bernie Little, a driving force in Unlimited racing. His 23rd year, he holds the record for the most wins. Chip Hanauer won the national championship in '82 and '83, 3 straight Gold Cups. He's won this race 2 of the last 3 years. One way or the other, he's kept everyone on their feet all day. And this is Scott Pierce. He won his first Unlimited race this year. He's won many championships in the lower classes. He was the co-rookie of the year in '81 driving for this same team. He's been in and out of the Unlimited since, and the word is if it will run the 12.5 miles, Scott will be competitive and will push it to the limit. 20,000 horses heading for the line. 500,000 people on their feet. It's 5 laps around this 2.5-mile course. 2 turbines, 3 piston-driven engines. You can feel the excitement, the vibrations even up here as they thunder by. Steve Reynolds hits the line right on the money. He's on the outside, and next to him is Chip Hanauer. Jim KROPFELD is on the inside. Right in his wake is Scott Pierce. Then it's Jerry Hopp, who got to the line a little late. Reynolds and Hanauer deck to deck as they move to the Belle Isle turn. Chip on the inside moves out to a slight lead. Now he starts to pour it on. Right in his wake is Steve Reynolds. Jim KROPFELD, the defending champ, is in trouble. He's pulling it to the inside. The crowd is going crazy as Hanauer flies down that back stretch. Remember, he turned laps at over 130 miles an hour in the qualifying heat he had to win, and he's hanging it right on the edge.
He is just driving beautiful. The boat is just sitting there, just touching the water. The bubble air under the boat's keeping it up, and the sponsons keep it stable. Coming down that back stretch, he looked just beautiful. I noticed going through that first turn, Chip gave a lot of room for the inside boat and the outside boat.
There you can see Jim KROPFELD waving to the patrol boats that he's okay, he's broke down, and he's off the race course.
Scott Pierce moving through the Rooster Tail turn. He's followed by Jerry Hopp, both of them fighting it out for 3rd and 4th and keeping the turbines in sight. Lap 1 is in the record books, and it's Chip Hanauer in the Miller American, the leader, followed by Steve Reynolds. Hanauer is out in front, but at these speeds, even Hopp in 4th is not that far back. Average speed just under 128 miles an hour.
That's exceptionally fast for the Detroit River course here. It has the ground swells down by the Whittier, and it always is kind of choppy down by the Belle Isle Bridge. So for running that fast, that's great speed on this race course.
Chip replaced Bill Muncie in '82 and won the Gold Cup here in that year. And there's a great shot of Steve Reynolds in 2nd place. Hanauer has the lead and driving like a man possessed.
Well, I'll tell you, he had everything going wrong all day long. Now all of a sudden everything's going right. Not starting that first heat, then winning the 2nd heat. American Speedy Printing not starting, putting him in the final, and right now he's out in front, and he's going to be tough to catch.
That was Scott Pierce in the blue and white Executone trying to close the gap on Reynolds, who's in 2nd place. And there's your leader, Chip Hanauer, a graduate of Washington State. He taught disadvantaged children, and he's been racing since the age of 10.
Chip is rounding the Belle Isle turn there, heading down the backstretch. You can see his 2nd lap average is 126.493, almost 127 miles an hour. That boat is just riding beautifully, and Steve Reynolds is in hot pursuit in 2nd place.
Well, I'll tell you, there's no way that Steve Reynolds or anybody else will catch Chip. That boat is just running perfectly. We talked earlier about the bubble of air on the boat. I think when you watch that boat, it really shows how it rides on a cushion of air.
I have to think back to last year. The turbines got all the headlines, but neither of them got started in the final. But right now, running 1 and 2, it looks like the jet age has truly come to Unlimited racing.
Well, it's coming. There's no doubt about it. Years ago when we started with these big aircraft engines, we had all kinds of problems. Turbines, this is about their 2nd year of really trying, and I think this shows that turbines will work and will make these boats run fast.
Turbines have been around for some time. I televised the first victory by a turbine in '82 in Syracuse. They've been tried many times before. Let's remind the viewers it's jet power, but it has to be a propeller-driven boat. Hanauer continues to look great. He's about to lap the 4th place Hydro of Jerry Hopp. Average speed still a record-setting 123.762, and he is cooking.
He's still running very fast. The thing about these turbines, you've got to keep them up and you've got to keep them running. He has slowed down somewhat to conserve his equipment, but he still has to run about these speeds to make everything work right.
From here, it looks like a fast but rough ride.
Well, it's not really that bad. In fact, if you saw him come through the rooster tail corner there, the boat was hanging on the fin real good. The spray of water coming off that left sponson, there's a gigantic skid fin. There you see Steve Reynolds' boat doing the same thing. It's holding in the corner real good, and it's coming around there, heading for the start-finish line.
That's Jerry Hobb. He's running one lap down. Scott Pierce pushing his Rolls-Royce Merlin engines to the limit, hoping for a break. Chip Hanauer has built the lead to 1 mile over Steve Reynolds. Both are traveling faster than the length of a football field per second. Hanauer is about to make it 3 wins out of 4 years. In the 69-year history of this race, few have done it. And framed in the checkered flag, about to get his 14th career win, is Chip Hanauer, and he has done it. As you can tell, a popular victory. And Scott Pierce just lost an engine. He won't finish. Second place goes to Steve Reynolds. The Turbines finish 1-2. Jerry Hobb will get third place. Chip Hanauer didn't just win it. He did it in the record time of over 122 miles an hour. Here in Detroit, they're still buzzing from that record-breaking run. Let's go to the trophy presentation and our winner, Chip Hanauer.
Well, I can't tell you what it means to win again in Detroit. This is where it all started. This is the history of boat racing.
Thanks, Chip, and congratulations once again. The Spirit of Detroit Regatta was brought to you by the new Walker Advantage muffler. It puts rust at a disadvantage. And by Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. And by Buick and your Buick dealer. Wouldn't you really rather have a Buick? Our special thanks to the Spirit of Detroit Committee and their chairman, Ray Bocelli, for their outstanding cooperation, and I must add, a job well done. To Commissioner Don Jones of the URC and his assistant, Scott Smith, another great event, and we thank you. Hotel accommodations were provided by the Hotel Pontchartrain in exchange for this announcement. The Hotel Pontchartrain, a luxury hotel in downtown Detroit. It's been an action-packed, exciting day. It's been what we've come to expect when the Unlimiteds race on the Detroit River, but best of all, it's been a safe day. For my colleagues Tom Deeth and Lee Shaneth, I'm Ed Dubrow. Thank you for joining us on the Detroit River.